The time now for another In the Legal Know with Vincent J. Russo. Boy, today Vincent's here to talk about the key differences between owning a condo or co-op and which one might be the right fit for you. Welcome back, Vincent. Boy, I love this subject because, yes, I'm very confused.
Yeah, and it's a big decision that someone has to consider when they're looking in the housing market, whether they should buy a condo or a co-op.
Right, so let's talk about the basics, the difference between both.
Yeah, so it's let's start with the biggest point, which is a key difference. When you own a condo, you own your home. That could be your apartment or a standalone, but you own it with a deed of ownership. So you have control over your property. And when you have a co-op, you own shares in a corporation. So you own an interest in all of the apartments, let's say in a building, and then you get a proprietary lease, which is the right to live in the apartment that you think you own, but you don't own it directly. So that's a big difference. And so you don't have as much control in the co-op situation. And then with a condo, flexible financing. There's more options with financing and subletting, where in a co-op, you got to get board approval, and you have to understand what the financial requirements are of being able to purchase into a co-op.
A little bit more about that, the financial differences between the two.
Yeah, there's a key difference here between the two, and that is when you buy into a condo, typically you're paying more than if you buy into a co-op. And then when we get into signing a contract of purchase, we look at the down payment requirements. And with a condo, you typically have to put down 10%. With a co-op, the board may require you to put down 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%.
Wow.
So, because they're looking for more financial stability. And so someone may say, wow, I'd like this condo, but I don't have that kind of money to put down. Or I can't afford to pay the price of a condo, so maybe a co-op would be cheaper, so maybe I can buy the co-op. So these are the financial considerations.
Okay, you just talked about the board and what they require. What about the boards? Is boards on both and you need approval?
Yes, so when you want to buy into a co-op, there's going to be typically 3 steps. One step, you have to provide financial statements and information, and they're going to look at it and scrutinize it and make sure that you can afford to buy this co-op and to pay the monthly fees involved. The second is they're going to interview you, and they're going to see if they like you. And if they don't like you, they have flexibility to say, well, maybe we don't want you living with us, all right? Maybe we're a club, all right? And so you've got the interview process, and they may ask for references and go out and talk to your employer or your friends as to whether you're the type of person that they would like having ownership in this co-op where everybody's joint owners.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would think, or I actually know people who have bought them as second homes, a co-op and a condo, or as an investment, and just talk about subletting. I'm thinking co-op. Can you sublet a co-op or a condo?
Yeah, so great question. So with a condo, there's more flexibility. Subletting is pretty straightforward and not too many restrictions on subletting. But with co-ops, it's a whole nother world. I have a co-op with my son living in it in New York City. We have a restriction. We can rent, we can sublet, but only up to 3 years. And after 3 years, we cannot sublet without taking it back for a year and then going back into the marketplace to sublet. So that's a real restriction. So there are restrictions on whether you can even sublet at all, or you may be only able to sublet for a short period of time and then you can't do it for a certain additional period.
Can those restrictions, you go get into a co-op, can those restrictions change along the line? Like you think you're going in and think you can, and then suddenly the group says no? That's
right. There's going to be a co-op board. And one of the tips I'll share with you today is get yourself, if you buy a co-op, get yourself on the board so you have influence because they could change the rules.
Yeah.
Literally change the rules. They could make it much more restrictive. Maybe it was great going in, but 5 years later, wait a second.
Wow.
You know?
Okay, let's talk about the cost. I don't know why I assume or thought that co-ops were less expensive than condos.
So co-ops are less expensive than condos because of these restrictions that you're maybe faced with. It allows the price to come down. People will pay less than paying for a condo. All right, so that's one of the pros of buying a co-op.
Okay.
All right.
And you have these monthly fees, right?
Yes. So there are monthly fees, and so in a condo, and we could talk about the taxes that are involved. In a condo, you can deduct your real estate taxes. You have a mortgage. You deduct your mortgage interest. You may have an HOA fee, a homeowners association fee. That's not deductible as a general rule. All right. In a co-op, you're paying a maintenance fee every month, and then the co-op is paying the real estate taxes. They're paying the mortgage on the building, and then you're getting a portion of it as a tax deduction.
Okay.
And these deductions are limited by the SALT cap, the state and local tax limitation of up to $40,000 now.
All right. So obviously you have to really do your homework.
Yeah.
When you want to get into a condo or into a co-op, really look into that building's financial stability, I would think.
Yeah, really, really important. And we have a slide on this. So I'm going to buy into a co-op. I want to understand what's their operating revenue and expenses. Because if they're operating at a loss, that's going to be a problem for you because your maintenance fee is going to go up or there's going to be a special assessment. Do they have a reserve fund, money put away? So, for example, in the co-op that we have in the city, they had to replace the roof. Mm-hmm. They had to do all the mortar and brick. Did they have the funds, or are they going to have to borrow the funds? If they borrow the funds, the fees are going to go up every month. And then special assessments for work and repairs. So monthly, co-ops could cost more money than a condo on a monthly basis.
Okay. What about, lifestyle?
Lifestyle, really, really important, especially if you're an owner of a dog or a cat, all right? Because in condos, it's pretty flexible, but in co-ops, they may have a limitation on maybe you can have a dog, but it can't be over so many pounds. Or maybe they don't even allow pets. There'll be restrictions on renovations or what you can do with your apartment. And then lastly, look at renting and selling. So some co-ops have what's called a flip tax. And so when you go to sell it, they get a portion of your sale proceeds. So that was something very popular like 20, 30 years ago. And so you have to understand what's going on in the building.
Yeah. Okay. Final word, advice for anybody out there right now thinking they don't know which way to go.
Yeah. Well, do your homework.
Yeah.
Do your homework. Yeah. Understand the financials, understand the rules and policies. What are your long-term goals? And then get a professional involved.
I'm calling you, Vincent.
Get your real estate attorney in there. Get your financial advisor to look at the finances of the building. And that way you make a real good, sound decision.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent information as always. So glad to see you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, I'm on tax day next week.
Oh, yay. Can't wait for that.